So when I first heard that DeSean Jackson had been hired as the head coach at Delaware State, my reaction was, huh? DeSean? Seriously? But my man Lil Wayne knows DeSean much better than I do. I know him a little. And Wayne texted me back that he wasn't really surprised by this hire because to him, DeSean has always been into the strategic side of football that, to quote Wayne, DeSean has a quote-unquote interesting but knowledgeable take on the game. Translation, thinks outside the box with high football IQ. That DeSean has always been, and I quote Wayne, super inquisitive, and that he'll surround himself with coaches who either have been head coaches or coordinators or have high coaching experience. And Wayne added via text that you can bet DeSean's Delaware State uniforms will be, quote unquote, the flyest, and that his teams will be, quote unquote, chippy as hell, as DeSean always was as a player. And by the way, DeSean did get accepted to, and he did stay in school at Cal Berkeley, great school, which definitely required some brains. But for me, the clincher was that Wayne was told that two men had gotten in touch with the powers that be at Delaware State and had closed this deal by vouching for DeSean. Those two men, Andy Reid and Deion Sanders. So then I subsequently read in an interview that Andy Reid said, I would stake my career on DeSean's success at Delaware State. Whew. When I read that, I said, okay, I'm all in on DeSean coaching Delaware State, even though at age 38, his only coaching experience was this past season at Woodrow Wilson High School out here in the LA area, where DeSean coached the wide receivers and the specialists. Hey, if Deion vouched for DeSean, I'm definitely all in. I believe in Deion. I believe in what Deion believes in. I'm all in, even though DeSean didn't have exactly a spotless reputation when he played. Yet, you know what? Maybe that's the point. Deion wasn't always the perfect little angel when he played. Read his autobiography. So now Deion, who is a great role model, an even greater father figure, today's Deion isn't naive or oblivious to the temptations that can ruin a college football player's life. Same for Michael Vick, who I believe will make a great head coach at Norfolk State, another recent hire, even though Michael Vick has no coaching experience. So we all know what happened with Michael Vick and those dogs. And I'm obviously a big dog lover. But I've had the privilege of getting to know Michael in the last few years. And I'm here to tell you, I believe with all my heart and all my soul that Michael Vick has seen the light, that his faith and his family are now his genuine priorities. I believe Michael Vick has a big, good heart. I believe he'll dedicate that heart and all his soul to developing fine young men as well as good football players at Norfolk State. All I can tell you is I would want my son to play for Deion Sanders or for Michael Vick. And of course, we are talking here about historically black colleges and universities. Not that Michael Vick or even DeSean can't recruit white players if they so choose. But my experience is that young black men are especially in awe of what Michael Vick was as a quarterback, in large part because of Madden. But to many potential black recruits, Michael Vick, the ex-quarterback, was was right up there with Barry Sanders when it came to broken field running. I've never seen anything like it before. To a number of young black men that Michael Vick will try to recruit, he is godlike. And their parents will only need to spend, trust me on this, a few minutes with today's Michael Vick to realize he's come a long, long way from prison. He paid a severe price. He learned. He became a man, a good man, who will make a great role model, and I think a very good head coach. So you dog lovers out there can scream at me all you want. I get it, but I do believe in Michael Vick. I won't forget, but I definitely have forgiven. My BS detector is strong, and I sense nothing phony about today's Michael Vick. Just watch him recruit. Watch him win. But just to be clear, this run of ex-NFL stars with little to no coaching experience being hired as head football coaches at HBCUs isn't a brand new thing. The great Doug Williams, first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl, had a great run coaching his alma mater, Grambling. And Eddie George has been the head coach at Tennessee State in Nashville since 2021, was coach of the year this year in his conference. His team won that conference. But of course, by far the highest profile HBCU hire ever was Neon Deion to Jackson State in 2020. Now, the difference was Deion had coached at the high school level in the Dallas area for the previous 9 years, had coached his sons through high school. And obviously, well, what helped Deion the most in his final 2 seasons at Jackson State, he did have his son Shadur at quarterback, and he had this kid named Travis Hunter playing cornerback and receiver at Jackson State. But again, would Travis Hunter out of the Atlanta area have said no to every major program in the country to sign with Jackson State in Jackson, Mississippi for just any old coach? Nope. He wanted to learn from the greatest cornerback ever. He wanted to spend 4 formative years around the most charismatic leader I've ever been around, Coach Prime. Shadur and Travis are fine young men with high character, that's on and off the field, who were raised right by Deion Sanders. Deion easily could be a head coach in the NFL next season. He could be the Cowboy coach or the Giants coach or the Jets coach, or I could go on and on. But Deion Sanders has chosen to stay at Colorado because he has dedicated his life to teaching and coaching college-aged kids. So will DeSean have Deion impact or even Michael Vick impact? I doubt it. But do not underestimate DeSean Jackson's on-field reputation with young Madden players. I mean, you can make a case that DeSean Jackson was the greatest deep threat ever in the NFL. He ran 4.35 at the combine, blazing fast, but not quite as fast as a Randy Moss or a Tyreek in timed speed. But man, in football speed, helmet and shoulder pad speed, deep speed running through a secondary and adjusting to deep thrown footballs. I'm just not sure there's ever been anybody better than DeSean Jackson, and don't get me started on his punt return capabilities. Whew. But no, I have not forgotten the articles I read about DeSean. This is way back in 2014 when Chip Kelly released him. One article in particular caught my attention in 2014. This was on NewJersey.com. though DeSean and others in his camp dismissed this article as an attempted smear campaign to justify his release as he was run out of town in Philadelphia. So this story said the Eagles were concerned with DeSean's bad attitude, his inconsistent work ethic, his missed meetings, his lack of chemistry with Chip Kelly, and his continued association with gang members out here in LA where DeSean grew up. And how all the above might negatively influence younger players on the Eagles. But you know what? The main problem might have been that DeSean loved playing for Andy Reid, but he did not love playing for Chip Kelly. NewJersey.com also found that DeSean had been pulled over, this is way back in 2009, for illegally tinted windows, and that marijuana had been found in the car, but that the charges were dropped as part of a plea deal. But far more troubling to me were DeSean's several anti-Semitic social media posts in 2020. Yet, I read that he subsequently met with several Jewish leaders in the Philadelphia area and at least one Holocaust survivor. Good for you, DeSean. And DeSean has always been involved with charities in Philly and where he played in Washington. So is it fair to say that DeSean Jackson knows what trouble looks like, sort of feels like, that he's seen trouble, been around trouble, but never been in trouble? Sure it is. And that could be a good thing, maybe a powerful thing when it comes to teaching and coaching and raising young men. No, DeSean won't immediately have a Shadur or a Travis. Delaware State went 1-10 this past season. The Hornets' lone win was 17-15 over Sacred Heart. Yikes. But if Deion Sanders vouched for you, I'm not going to bet against you.